nothing. I heard somebody complaining, I was just gonna check. Okay, if we go back to page 93 in your book, okay? I think it says, staffing patterns, we've just talked about management and administrative people. Now we're gonna look at support personnel. They are typically hourly. So if you take this sheet right here, it's a little bit bigger than the one I gave you last week. The very top, Roman numeral number 2 says support personnel.
Wait, are we doing E?
No, we're still on C, page 2C.
Sorry, I thought you said D.
That one.
Okay, you follow me? We're up here at the top. And in all of these venues, you have individuals who may be working as a whole. If you remember, I said there's commissaries where they might be making nacho cheese or chili for the hot dogs. They could be making lettuce and tomatoes or slicing condiments, onions, jalapenos, those kinds of things. We call those support personnel. And they're not assigned to one particular location, so we list them as a percentage of the total sales. So if you look right here, F, what percent of sales are we going to pay them?
75%.
Nope. Look at B, Roman numeral 5.
Hourly?
They're hourly, right? What you need to know is what's the percent of sales. So on the test, your case study will tell you. In this case, let's say 2%. So what you're going to do where F is, you're going to put a 2% in there. And then 2% of what?
2% of annual sales?
Total annual sales, correct. So you're going to take 0.02 times 20,387,500. After you take a bite of hot dog. $407,750. Put that right there where it says the dollar amount. And right next to that, it should be 2%. Because that's what we figured it at. So you would have, right here, F is 2% times total sales, or 100%, which is 20,387,000. Then it would be 400 something thousand.
Okay.
Then you're going to transfer that number into the next column.
To
Column
the
5.
dollar amount column? The dollar amount column?
The dollar amount. All right. Now, in this staffing pattern, it also says C, concession workers. Concession workers produce 75% of the total business, or the total sales, Rachel. Thank you for the vernacular. All right. So, how do we get that? If you look right here, it says G. It would be 75% of the 100%, or 75% times 20,387,500. And that equals how much? I think it's 15 million.
Yeah, 50,290,625.
So it's 15,290,000 and some dollars. Now, how much are we going to pay them? What are we going to budget? Here's something that's not in the case history that you need to know.
Wait, where do we put the 15 million?
Okay? Everybody look. We're right here where it says G. 75% of 20 million equals 15 million goes right here. It should be right there.
15
And I
million
got
is
the
right.
formula right there for you. You see it? 75% of 20 million
Yep.
equals 15 million. Did you get it? Okay. Times, what are we going to budget? So in this case, history doesn't tell you, so I would have to give that to you. So the number is 10%. We're going to budget our concession labor at 10%. So it's going to be $1,529,062.50. Now, as a percentage, how do we figure out what the percentage is?
Do we divide that by the 20?
Yes, you do. That's exactly right. So you're going to take $1,529,062 divided by 20 million.
So do we put the 1,520,000?
That's right. That's exactly right. So you put the 1,500,000 right here.
7.5.
7.5%. Very good. Now it also says in D that we have vending workers, the people that walk around the stands and they're selling stuff. And they make 25% of the business. So we're going to repeat the formula and we're going to take 25% times 20 million. 387,500.
Right underneath it.
Right underneath it, correct.
And you're getting these from,
That's exactly right.
okay.
In your case history, it's going to be set up just like this on the exam, and you're going to have to go back and be able to read it and then pull the information out. Now, the exam is going to be much more difficult because the exam is going to be almost like an essay or a story. And there's going to be stuff in the exam, in that story, you don't need to know. Does that make sense? So what we're doing is we're taking baby steps. We're learning exactly what we need.
5,096,875.
That's the sales, that's correct. Now, if you wanted to test yourself, see if you did that correctly, what would you do? You would add the 15 million plus the 5 million and see if you come up with total sales. And it should be 20,387,000.
That's the check.
That's a check. That's correct. Just to make sure you didn't make a mistake. Now, what are we going to pay them as a percentage? Where does it show that in the case study?
14. Is this payroll?
Payroll, yeah.
14%.
Nope. Those are payroll-related costs.
What are our previous?
Yeah, I didn't tell you. So
So
where did you get the 10%? I told you.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's 8% for vendors. In the exam, it'll be on there.
Okay.
And you have to be careful because it might be not exactly where you're looking for it. So it may give you all of this, and it may be another little side thing that says, we're going to pay hourly employees 10%. That's our budget.
So would it equal the same 407,750? 407,750?
Now, why would you do that?
No,
That's-
multiplied.
that's what I've asked.
It came out to the same number?
It did.
Okay, that's by accident. That's just circumstance, happenstance. Now we know what our hourly employees are going to be budgeted at, okay? We know it's 407,500. Then we know it's 1,529,062. And we also know there's going to be 407,750. Add all of those up. And you're going to put it where it says G.
Wait.
So you're going to take this times the 20 million equals 15 million something.
So this
Okay.
subtotal hourly
And you're going
wages.
to take, not 10%. This 10% goes right here.
Okay.
The number that we get goes
And
in G.
75 goes there?
Nope, 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 nope.
No? Okay, that's where I'm getting lost, is the
So I'm going to help you.
placement.
2,344,562.
So it might be helpful if you just wrote out this side here, concession stand and workers, okay? They make
Because
75% of the total for the 20 million.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that goes all the way in this column, right? You're always
Yes,
multiplying that number
right.
by this, okay.
Because it's 100%. So 75% times 20 million
Mhm.
equals the total sales they produce, which is 15 million something. Yeah. 2,0,6,25. Now, we're going to budget them at 10% of whatever their sales are. So you put the 10% right here.
And you said you just had to give us that number, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're going to multiply that times 10%. And it's going to be this is going to be, you're gonna divide that by the 20 million, it turns out to be 7.5%. Now-
Divide that number, this number by this number?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that'll give you the percent. Then down here, this is 25%, so this is vendors,
And we know that because
right here.
25%, okay.
Times the total, 20 again, okay? And so that's gonna give you a number, it's 5 million something.
So are we only gonna use those two rows?
Ha ha ha. What do you think? So what was the number? 5096875 times 8% equals 407,000.
And where did the 8% come from?
I give it to you.
Okay.
In the test, it will be written on here. It'll say, there'll be a whole paragraph about concession workers and what they make and then what we're
And
paying.
then I get this number by multiplying these two together.
Right, that's correct.
Okay,
And then you get this number by dividing that.
by the total.
That's right. So
Okay.
do that real quick. Okay, so there was a question, and it was, we're just gonna have two categories, right? No. You could have multiple categories. So we might have concessions makes, say, 60% of the business. Vending makes 20% of the business. Alcohol bars, beer bars make 10% of the business. Catering makes 10% of the business. So 60 plus 20 plus 10 plus 10 is 100% of the
But you'll
business.
tell us what you're looking for, right?
It's in the store.
Okay.
Yes, and the story will be very similar to this. In other words, it'll tell you about the stadium, and it'll tell you how many events there are, it'll tell you what the menu is, it'll tell you what the product cost is, and then it'll go to labor. And it'll say we have X number of general managers and assistant managers and so forth and so on. It'll say, and then we've got catering, and we've got this, and we've got that, we've got support personnel. So you'll get a variety of different kinds of people working. So now that you have that done, what do I do with my practice sheet? Do I leave it with you?
Set.
Yeah. We want to add it up. So if you add up this column right here, you should come down to G, and that should tell you how much we're going to spend. How much are we going to spend on labor? Good. And that is a percentage? That is a percentage? Do you know where we're at, Ariel? We're right here. And I want to know this divided by that. Did you add all these up? Okay. 11.5%. Is that correct, Kevin?
I don't know. I didn't get it.
And we're always rounding 2 decimal places.
Correct. Of course, if the second decimal place is a 0, just leave it alone. 2,344,000 and something divided by 20 million.
62.5, don't you?
So it's going to be 11.5%. Now, what's the question I always ask?
Is there a decimal? Okay.
Ashik, what question do I always ask? Is that good or bad?
I don't know, what's the
Standard.
standard, the, like.
You got it.
set?
Can you remember that next week or the week after?
Yeah.
We set the standard, okay? So every company has a different standard. If I wanted better service, what would I do? If I wanted better service, what would I do to my standards? I would raise them, correct. So it wouldn't be 11%, what would it be?
15.
15% would mean we'd have more labor, we'd have higher quality, more skilled employees. And if you remember last week, we talked about how many points of sale do we need? You remember? What's the ratio?
You need
This is-
1.5, right?
We need 1.5 workers per PO.
Yeah, that's right. So how many POS do we need? That's right.
You need 1.2.
No,
300.
you could. I said 175. So you would take, if this stadium holds, how many people does this stadium hold? Go to your case study. 60,000. So how many points of sale do we need? You would take 60,000 divided by 175.
342.
342. If I wanted to make the service better, what would I do?
More POS systems.
More POSs, which means I might lower the ratio. So it might be 150. So take 60,000 divided by 150.
400.
So now I got 400 points of sale, not 360 points of sale or 380 points of sale. So the service should be better, right? So that's why I say, when somebody comes to you and they say, oh, my labor cost is 10%, is that good or bad?
And the one.
It depends. What's the standard? We do this all the time with food costs. People say, my food cost is 14%. What does that mean to you? You're going to find out going forward when we talk about cost controls. I don't care what your food cost is. In my classes, when I teach senior executives, I go around the room and I say, what's your food cost? Somebody will say 15%. What's your food cost? 18%. What's your food cost? 21%. Then I say, who has the best food cost? And everybody says she has the best food cost because it's 15. But it's not comparative because I don't know what her sales are. So then I ask the question, what's your variance? What's the variance? You'd be surprised how many senior executives don't know the answer to that question. The variance is the difference between your actual food cost and your theoretical food cost. So when we were working earlier on the food cost, and I said hot dogs were 32%, and sodas were 11%, and beer was 14%, that's theoretical. That's no spillage, no theft, no accidents, no free giveaways. That's perfect cost. So if you have a 15% cost and your theoretical is actually, let's just say 13%, you're 2% off. Your variable is 2%. That's your variance. If you're 21% and theoretical is 20.8, you've done pretty good because you're only 0.2 of a point off. So you actually are doing a better job than the person with a 15%. So when people start asking you, or they talk about, oh, I've got a 11% labor cost, or I've got a 8% labor cost, I always ask the question, is that good or bad? And what's your response? It depends on your standards. So if you set your standard at 5%, you're running 8%, is that good or bad?
That's bad,
Why is it bad?
because it exceeds.
It's 3% higher. That's correct. If your standard is 10% and you're running 8.9, is that good or bad?
That's good.
That's good, because we're 1.1% less than what we budgeted. Okay. What you're going to do next is you're going to total each one of these columns. And the instructions are in the book. It'll tell you what to do. Subtotal hourly wages. Down here where it says other, we could have some other things that we put in there. So for example, if we had a special event, we might have a pastry chef come in and make special pastries. And we would pay him a fee. We might have someone make ice carvings. That would be a fee for labor. All right? That would be other. Sometimes in stadiums you have what we call seasonal employees. So like at the Liberty Bowl, we used to have a cleaning crew that would come in and spray down every concession stand. We would steam down, spray wash every concession stand and sanitize it before we even opened. But we'd only do it once a year. So that would be seasonal. We might put that in there. In this particular case, I'm trying to keep it simple. We're going to add everything up. G plus all the others, and we're going to come up with subtotal hourly wages. What is that number?
2,344,000.
That's exactly right. Do you see how you got that?
Because there's nothing.
That's nothing else to add. So you're already there. You're just going to carry this number down to that next number. How do we get J? Total payroll cost.
Go to your other.
So we're going to go to the other sheet that we started with management, right?
B.
And add the 241,800.
That's correct.
Wait. Why don't we just add that?
So you're going to take this 241,800 and you're going to add it to the 2,300,000 and something thousand.
And that's going to be J.
And that's going to be J. I would agree with that, yes.
Say that one.
$2,586,362.50, I think.
You
Memory
add
serves.
that to the 2,344,000?
No, that's J.
That's the answer.
So you're going to add typically G plus C. G plus C equals J.
Okay.
So G was 241,800, and you had 2,390 something thousand, I think. So you should have a total of 2 million. And Kevin's already done the math. He knows the next question. What's the next question, Kevin?
12.7%.
What is the total percent for labor? How do you figure that?
Add the percent.
You're going to take the 2,500,000 divided by the 20 million, and it should be 12.68%.
Wait, say that one more time. You take what?
That big number,
Yeah, you're going to take that big number and divide it by the other bigger number.
Five.
You're going to take 2.5 million. Where's J? What's J? Got it?
Yeah.
You're going to divide J by the total sales, or the total sales. Right.
What percentage did you give him?
12.8686. So
12.68%.
yes. So on the exam, it would probably be something like 12.68%. Yeah, we rounded up. Didn't we round up?
12.7.
I didn't round.
So you're 12.7.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's only one percentage. Typically, there are two. If there's only one decimal point on the test, then you would round up to 7. So it'd be 12.7%. That's correct. But I think all the answers are in 2 digits.
Payroll related, so that goes right here at 12.7.
Nope. We go right over here. Okay, so let's look at K. What is K? K is payroll related cost. Do you remember what the payroll related costs were?
14%.
Of what? We only talked in terms of management, so that would be the 33,000.
Did you get
33,852.
Is the 14?
So now you want to know your total projected labor cost, which is L. You're going to take the 33,852 plus the 2,500,000, add those two together.
For L?
For L, that's correct. So you're going to take the 14%, which is the 33,000, you're going to drop it
How do we know that's 14?
right here. Payroll related cost was 33,852.
So in K, we write 14%.
Nope.
We were at 33?
Yeah, well, yes, you could write 14%, that's correct. But it's
And
only a
then you
management.
get
It was the 33,000.
It's okay.
So for K, we were at 33,000?
33.
Yeah, 33,852, right here in K.
So that is the 14.
That's correct. So K and D are the same.
and then you add J and K to get out.
Correct. Now I'm going to confuse you a little bit. Do that first before I
Okay,
go.
before you do that, before
Please,
you do
yeah.
that,
Yeah, wait a second.
the,
So really, if you mess up any of these like ending numbers, you're just screwed.
You're gonna hurt.
Because you just keep on using them over.
the 33,852, is that 14% of something?
Yes,
Of what?
Look at the first form, C.
right.
Of the 241? 14%?
That's right. That's correct.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's right. See, remember we put 14% of that equals the 33. That's correct.
Is there a way to I mean, I know on the first
Drop this
sheet.
class. Is that what you were going to ask? Drop
No.
this class?
Well, to check
Sure.
yourself, because I know with certain things, obviously, with percentages, it typically needs to add up
The
to 100.
best way to
but,
check yourself
what's
is to look, and if the answer isn't on the exam, you might got it wrong.
Can you please upload this and email me so I can re-listen to the lecture for studying
Yes,
purposes?
we will do that, okay? So what did she say? She said, can we send you the YouTube so you can rehearse?
Just so I
I'm
can
happy to do
walk
that,
through.
yes. I'm happy to do
We
that.
haven't done percentages.
Okay. Percentages. So
Okay,
we
so
might
here's
not-
where it can get confusing. Where it can get confusing is that in management, sometimes we have payroll-related costs that are different than hourly. Okay? And if you remember, I said we like to hire contract employees, and we'll pay the groups, the volunteer groups, a straight 10% because they're contract employees and we don't have to pay their payroll-related expenses. But if we have everybody and they're on our payroll, we have to pay them just like we do management. So when it says 14% on the exam, be careful. On the exam, it might be 18%, it might be 16%. It might be 18% for management, and it may be 14% for hourly employees. Does that make sense? So if you can do it for management, you certainly can do it for hourly employees. Or it may just say, what is the total labor cost, not counting any payroll-related cost? What would that number be?
Without the 14%.
Without the 14%. What would that number be? It would be J. Because you don't need K, right?
Oh, wait.
Can you explain it to her, Jessica? If there are no payroll, if I want to know what the expense is without payroll-related cost, what would it be? It would be J, because J plus K equals total. Got it, Kevin?
Yeah, we didn't do the percents yet.
No, we didn't.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's what I've been listening for.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so let's go to L, and we want to know what the total percent labor cost is for this facility. Total percent.
Divided by the 20.
That's exactly right. And my guess is it's going to be 12.7%.
12.85.
12.85%. There you go.
So you did 12.7 divided by, wait, hold on.
You're gonna take L
Divided by the total.
divided by
Oh,
total
this number,
sales.
okay. Divided by total sales, which is that big number.
Did you get the percent for L?
You get percent for L. Oh, my clicker. All right, I'm gonna move back up here.
12.9.
so what about K?
That's what.
What about K?
The percent?
You could figure it out if you wanted to do that, but it's gonna be like 0.025%.
Is it gonna
We
be on
don't
the
care about
test?
that?
I don't care about it right now, but you guys can do it as practice if you want.
On
Well,
the
is it gonna
test?
be on the test?
I can't tell you what's gonna be on the test.
Yeah. That's your job, is to tell us what's on the test technically, but, you know.
We know what we got.
I've told you what's gonna be on the test. I gave you the whole sheet. I've given you the formulas. I even gave you instructions.
But yet we haven't filled out half of it, so.
You did, you filled out the
We have-
necessary information.
So yes, there is gonna be some stuff on this sheet that is omitted on the test.
No, there's going to be things on the test that have not been added to this. Go back to the sheet,
You're
okay?
gonna test us on stuff we haven't.
I have not done that. Back up, don't make it difficult. I said in the story, there are going to be sales generated by concessions. What is the percent in this case history?
This is Form C.
Percent of what?
Together.
Yeah.
The concession stands make a certain percentage of the total sales. What is that percentage?
Forget about these.
Is that form
That's the payroll, projected labor cost, that's not.
So take this out.
Just keep
That'd be
100%.
11%?
Nope. All right.
75%.
I need the blue pen. It's over there.
25%.
Okay, okay.
I think the other one writes better, but that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
Did you guys?
Okay, here's the deal. Total sales. 20 million. See which one writes better. 387,500.
Yes.
Now, on B, we broke down these sales to figure out how we got 20 million. So we saw how many sales did it take, hot dog sales to get to this? How many soda sales? What was the percent of beer sales to get to the 20 million? Now we're talking about labor. So how is this broken down? There are two categories. There's concessions, and then there are vendors. That's all you have. Right?
Okay, yes.
So, what did the concession stands contribute to that?
75%.
Thank you. There you go. And what did the vending contribute?
25%.
Okay? But on the exam, it could look like this. Liquor bars, catering, skyboxes. There could be a number of categories. So when you said it's exactly like it, it's the same formula. So let's just say that concessions equals 60%, vendors equal 20%, liquor bars equal 10%, catering equals 10%. You're going to do the same formula. You're just going to do 4 formulas now as opposed to just 2 that we did today.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay. So we talked about materials first, now we're talking about manpower. And how much manpower is it going to take to produce this? And who is making this money? Well, concessions is making 75% of it, or 15 million.
Yes.
The vendors in this case study made 25%, or 5 million of it.
Yes.
They get paid different wages. Okay? So they're going to get 10% of what they earn. These people here are going to get 8% of what they earn. That's our budget.
Yes.
Okay. Does that help? Sort of, kind of? C is always the most difficult for everyone to understand. But after you understand that there are different categories of labor, so we had management, right? And management is fixed. It's going to be the same every time. It was 241 million. What's the manager make? 1,600 a week? Is that right? Going to work 52 weeks? Yeah, the general manager? Was that $82,000? Something like that? What's 52 times 1,600?
It's 83,000.
83,000. So the manager is going to make $83,000 a year, plus bonuses or benefits. The assistant manager is going to make what?
65,000.
65,000. Okay? Those are set numbers, regardless if we do 19 million or 20 million. These concession workers, okay, we're going to put them at a percentage rate. We said 10% for concessions, 8% for vendors. In the exam, it might say 10% for concessions, 8% for vendors. It might say 12% for liquor bars and 22% for catering. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to take the 75%, the 15 million, times 10%. You're going to take the 5 million times 8%. You're going to take the liquor bar, whatever that number is, times 14 or 15%. And catering times 22%. Then you're going to add it up and you're going to come up with G, total. That make sense?
Yes.
Okay, and then I will tell you, I'll give you a hint, there are no other employees. So you're going to go straight from G all the way down to the bottom where it says total. That'll be easier for you, okay? All right. Okay, you guys want about a 4-minute break, 5-minute break? Okay, let's come back at